Cut in total professional comfort. Husqvarna. Available now at Hometown Motors Incorporated, 818 Eastern Avenue, Chillicothe. September 11th, 2001. It changed the way many of us live our lives, kind of like this year as well with the COVID-19 pandemic. But the Chillicothe VA Medical Center has, for several years now, had a special 9/11 Remembrance Ceremony. And Seisha Ruby is with us now from the Public Affairs Department to talk about your ceremony, which is going to be this Friday, 9 a.m., right?
Yes, 9 a.m. We'll start out with the ringing of the bells, marking the one of the planes hitting the Twin Towers. So it's very somber to start with. We have a lot to be thankful for, and this ceremony reminds us that we have first responders that day who stepped up that we might have taken for granted up until that point. But first responders to us are the police department, the fire department, the EMTs, the veterans. So when we decided to do this event, our chief of the fire department, Chief Kirkbride, he's a veteran and the chief of the fire department, he said, we need to make sure we include all first responders. And it's just a way for us to say we didn't forget. We were impacted by that day. And if nothing else, a moment in time where the United States truly became united and stood together and fought together on our own home ground. So not one of us can say, or very few of us can say, that we don't remember where we were that day. When you have something like this impact your life, what you were doing, where were you, what were your first thoughts? I personally was home on maternity leave with my son. So he was born in 2001 and he graduated in 2020. And we might just blame him for all this mess, but we remember where we were and how we felt, and it's such a huge impact that we don't want people to forget. So now you have kids in school who maybe don't remember what was going on in 2001. We were a year into it when these seniors were in school, and so we've done a few things differently this year. Because of COVID, we've added the live stream of the ceremony. I sent a message out to all of our local high school superintendents and high school principals, and I said, if you want to show this to your classes, feel free to live stream with us so they can watch and they can hear two heroes talk about what they remember from that day and never forgetting the sacrifices that were made.
It's almost like a live history lesson in that respect, reaching out to the kids in that fashion. And I know Ben Barker, who is involved with talking about the police department, he's the police chief, and Rob McBride or Kirkbride, both were impacted on that day through their military campaigns. So to hear from the veterans, I guess, might take us back to hear from some of those who were part of, like, Pearl Harbor when it was bombed back to start World War II. So this is a great way of telling the story and letting people remember, because let's be honest, a lot of the network probably won't show much of what we saw that day.
Well, we, with our chief of the fire department, Rob Kirkbride, he's a 12-year veteran. He was deployed to Iraq. He is an Army. When he discharged from the Army, he was a sergeant. He has some great, compelling stories about the impact it was on him, where he was that day, how he felt when he was told, because he was in the reserves, how he was told, well, let's go. And I know a lot of reservists, with our 1001st here, that wasn't something that was expected, that they would be told, grab your stuff, we're going. And then Lieutenant Benjamin Barker on our police staff here, he's an 8-year veteran, Air Force. So this will be the first time we hear him from his perspective of how that day impacted his life. But I know he was deployed twice, Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia. He reported and he did his job. And I think putting a face with the name and the action is huge for our community of saying, you know, I know these people. And we have everyday heroes walking among us. And that's something I never want people to forget.
And in Lieutenant Barker's situation, he was a close personal friend of the Reed family, who thanks to 9/11, what happened on that day led to Aaron Reed losing his life on the battleground with the Lima Company with the U.S. Marine Corps. So, yeah, this will be an emotional moment for them, no doubt. But in the same respect, they all know what it means to put their lives on the line and walk on foreign soils to grant us the liberties and freedoms that we have here.
And that's the key. It's not a memorial type of service, but it's a remember what happened and how you need to walk on with your life. Those impacts of how they've changed how you look at things or how you do things for the better. How, you know, people now will look at, you know, serving in the military different. I mean, we had gone so many years without a major war that even at this time, before this 9/11 occurred, the VA was looking at nationally starting to cut back on some services because our Vietnam veterans, the Desert Storm veterans, we were getting fewer and fewer of them coming through, and the World War II veterans passing away. And then this hits, and we had to rechange our entire focus. It was now focusing on something new that we had never experienced because of technology and new weapons and things that we were facing. So how we looked at healthcare changed. And, you know, when you look at your young men and women and you say, you know, you're the future, you're the one that's going to be protecting us now. We were very fortunate, you know, to have men and women who are willing to go stand and fight for our freedoms and defend us. So I think that's something that, you know, generations of not having to see war, you realize it's real life, and your next door neighbor was impacted, your parent was impacted, your brother, your sister. That made it real life, and I think that that's what's really different about this story for history is that if we can continue to let people know it's real, it wasn't just a story, then they'll understand the impact and it'll better our future and what we feel is freedom and what we know that stands for.
And if we learned anything from Desert Storm, those veterans and their return home treated much different than the Vietnam War era veterans when they came home. A lot of politics involved with that particular conflict. But having said all that, we do what we can to remember our military now and have them in a different look than they got in the late 60s and 1970s.
Definitely.
Yeah. Your event again starts at 9 o'clock tomorrow. It will be streamed on the Chillicothe VA Medical Center's Facebook page. So I know you're sending that link out to all the schools, but we'll include it in our story here as well. And it's open for everyone to view.
Yes. We'd appreciate anybody who wants to go watch that, Chillicothe VAMC on your Facebook. But taking time to spend a few minutes remembering and reminiscing about that day in history.
We appreciate your time and what you're doing.
All right. Thank you, Dan.